Is there still a lot of pirate radio in Manchester at the moment? Of a weekend, can you also tune along the dial and find many stations, as we still can in London?
There was about a dozen a few months ago, but only about 4 or 5 now.
Because they're constantly being shut down?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And when they're shut down, as in your case, they confiscate all the equipment?
They do, yeah.
Which costs about how much to put it all together?
Well, I've spent, what wasn't all mine, 1,600.
Which is rather tragic, because suddenly it's in the hands of other people. And then I suppose you're going to go to court, and will probably be fined, which will be more money, because you've done something that is illegal. Well, I thoroughly approve of it, and I want more of it, and I urge people to do it. Here on Talk Radio to the nation, I'm saying do it, do it, do it. So, Colin, you better arrest me for encouraging illegality and crime.
Well, yes, it sounds a very dangerous incitement to make, and I sincerely hope you withdraw that.
Talk Radio. Now you're talking.
This is Jonathan King on Talk Radio UK. My guests are Colin Richards from the Radio Communications Agency and the Radio Investigation Unit, who basically says, look, the law of the land at the moment says you're not legally meant to do this. Of course we may have sympathy for kids who want to play music and get it across, but it is illegal and somebody's got to enforce that law. We also have Michael Larson, who is representing the kids who are playing the music, and who said, for heaven's sakes, the state of radio in this country is abominable, for which I agree. I put the blame on the Radio Authority and the government, who have taken the route that they will license more and more small radio stations in smaller areas, playing exactly the same thing, less and less well, rather than what they should be doing, in my mind, which is licensing bigger radio stations in the main cities that can play all the music they like and will be in competition with each other, so the people who do it best survive, and those that don't. But that's only a personal view. What's your view? Give us a call, 03451 53 89, if you have any views at all. Dave, you're in Manchester. Have you got a point to make?
Hello there, yeah.
Hi.
The point I'd like to make is the fact that when you get in trouble for pirate radio, that you actually get a 5-year ban after you've paid your fine from working in legitimate radio. Now, I'm 25. I've been offered big jobs in radio stations in the north that I can't take.
Because you used to work on a pirate?
Because I used to run a pirate radio station, but at the end of the day, we had complaints from legitimate stations because it was popular, because it was playing adult contemporary American music.
Well, I'd have listened, I'm here to tell you. Well, yes, Colin, what's your answer to that?
Yeah. Well, the answer is that's absolutely correct, that if you are convicted of an offence for illegal broadcasting, then there are provisions in the Broadcasting Act which prevent you from working on a legal station for 5 years, and that's obviously how seriously Parliament viewed the issue of pirate radio when they passed these legislation. So the answer, quite simply, is don't do it.
Well, can I just say, somebody that does driving for a living, that goes out drink driving, can get a 12-month ban. Is it really that serious?
Well, I've already talked about the problems of interference. Now, you may want to put it in a different category to drink driving, but I mean, the bottom line is here that you may be talking about interference which would quite clearly endanger the life of an aircraft of 500 people, and that is serious, and that's the sort of thing we're talking about here.
Well, I take your point, David. I don't go along with it at all, and I think there are much too heavy penalties. I think that I do understand if you've got a law, you have to enforce it. I don't agree with the law, but we can fight that through government and through influence. I do think it seems extremely strict, very unfairly strict. I'd be quite amused here. Now, supposing that, let's say Michael is restarting up his pirate radio station illegally in Manchester and gives me a call and says, well, I pop up there and guest on his programme, which I'd be delighted to do. I wonder what would happen then. Would I then be banned from coming back to my really comfortable, nicely paid job here on Talk Radio? Would that happen, Colin? Or would there be an awful lot of publicity in the newspapers of King takes a stand?
That's right. I think there's nothing wrong in legitimate reporting of what's happening, and I'm sure that's the way you do it. I think the law, I think, is aimed at actually working and working as a disc jockey or a presenter. I think that's the way it's intended to be phrased.
Dave, are you working in radio at all at the moment or not?
I'm currently out of work, and it's not for the job offers. It's really irritating.
It is, and it seems very unfair to me. If I were you, I would actually get somebody to put in an appeal on your behalf.
I've tried, believe me.
And they won't do anything?
No, nobody will do anything.
And how about also getting a job with a radio station in a non-on-air capacity, and then perhaps moving on-air?
You can't even work on the reception.
Is that true?
You can't.
I think that sounds absolutely... the word I want, which I can't think of, because I only went to Cambridge and I've also got Alzheimer's, but definitely short-term memory has come in a huge amount. It seems to me that it's a grossly overly large penalty for an extremely small thing, although I do take your point, if you're interfering with an aircraft, those are the situations, it still seems much harder. Let's face it, what they're trying to do, I think, is they are trying to dissuade people from doing it. So if that penalty is there, people are going to think quite seriously about doing. But what about Michael, who obviously loves music and wants to be in radio and like to be involved with music? Is there something he's done as an 18-year-old, which is very young and just trying to entertain people, going to ruin his life? Colin, you're sitting there with your mouth very firmly clenched together.
Well, it may do, and that's a pity. But I mean, it comes back to the same point again, that you shouldn't be indulging in an activity which is illegal. And as I said, Parliament clearly thought that was a serious enough thing to put that in. And it actually comes written into the licence of radio stations. So that's why it can't be taken out. It's part of the law.
Yeah, I think that they should change the law though. So
Yes.
like with these licences, they're trying to allocate from the top end of the band to base it like there is in Europe on small community stations, which pay very small fees. They're generally low power. They've got them, I know, in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Holland and Belgium, a few other countries, and they've got no problems with pirates because it gets rid of them.
So perhaps we could lobby our
And then as
MPs.
well, one of the reasons for the interference is because with it being illegal to sell the transmitter. But if it was legislated properly, then the DTI would be able to approve the transmitters which were used, and there wouldn't be any interference at all.